last week we had the defensive lineman, and we had George Karlaftis, who logged in yet another sack, a pass defense, and 3 tackles. So solid play right there. Very happy with that. Quiddy Pay we've brought up as a stash. He was on bye, so we will see how he does next week. And I'm very happy with my dart throw in Bruce Irvin landing on the dartboard. 6 tackles, 3 of which were solo. He got his sack. He had another QB hit and a TFL to boot. So for someone like Bruce Irvin, that was one of his better games of the season. I'm happy we were able to get on the right track with that one. So this week, we have 3 lovely names, and I'll start off with this one of the New York Giants. That is Azeez Ojulari. So hasn't been it's been a mixed season for Azeez because he's been incredibly productive while he's out there. However, the problem is that he hasn't been. He's only played 4 games this year, but he does have 4 sacks in those 4 games. He got another one this past week. Looked good while doing it. He's always been a bit of an inconsistent player, but to see some consistency in the second season is something we like to see. He sees Washington this coming week, which ranks 8th in sacks allowed. He got a sack 2 weeks ago, and he forced a fumble 2 weeks ago against the Commanders. So this is a very much do or die game for the New York Giants. I think Azeez Ojulari has to show up in a very big way. At the very least, he needs to get a sack, and he was able to do so without playing the entire game because of how the Giants were shellacked last week. So listen, I'm willing to ride the hot hand yet again for Azeez. That's my call right here.
Hey, in 3 out of 4 games this year, he's got a sack. Half of those 4 games, he's also forced a fumble. So he seems to be pretty efficient with those with the snaps he does get when he's in there playing, and especially with the do or die week coming up. You know he's going to be looking to make make plays. So I definitely like that pick. The second name we had up here was Chandler Jones. He seemed to return from his 12 weeks of just half sacks. Couldn't quite continue the streak he had started earlier in the year. So just in the last couple of weeks, he's got 4 sacks total. Those came in great matchups. Fortunately, that continues going into this next week in the first week of your fantasy playoffs. So this is going to be a pretty scrumptious matchup for Chandler Jones up against New England. And just this last week, kind of goes to show after Mac Jones got sacked how many times?
I think it was 2 or 3 times, but he was under pressure the entire night. It was pretty ridiculous, honestly.
Yeah, this he just doesn't. And this offense really flows best through the run, and it seems like when defenses are pressuring Mac Jones after on the drop back, seems like he really can't handle that pressure. So they ended up getting it done, albeit due to a Kyler Murray injury early on. But this ought to be a good game for Chandler Jones to keep continue his streak.
I think we got a common theme here with riding the hot hands of Chandler Jones, Azeez Ojulari. And we also have a nice little revenge narrative. Chandler Jones, former Patriot for a short bit there. So hey, little add that up in there. But we'll throw out our third name. This one going into a place even colder than where I am right now, I'm sure. And that would be DJ Wonnum. I hope I'm saying that pronounced correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. Of the Minnesota Vikings. So he sees Indianapolis this week, and that's truly what I'm looking for. He's definitely been in a rut. I won't lie with that. He hasn't been that good for fantasy. It's because he only has a sack. He hasn't had a sack since week 9. But he's still getting QB hits in those games, and that to me tells me that he's still getting to the quarterback. In Indianapolis, if you're getting QB hits in prior games, I think you're going to get home against Indianapolis. They allow the most amount of sacks in the league. Matt Ryan can't handle the blitz. The offensive tackles are a turnstile, and it's not quite as bad as it was in the first 5 weeks of the season, but it's still pretty bad. Still one of the better matchups for defensive ends like DJ Wonnum. And listen, I'm willing to take the chance here. He also tends to get 3 to 4 tackles. That it's a nice little boost in case if he does get the sack I'm looking for. You add 3 to 4 tackles on top of that in case of a TFL. All of a sudden, you have a much bigger day. I do think I think he has a good week this week, and the rotation that Minnesota has at their edge rushers is incredibly effective, and it needs to be with the secondary being as bad as it is.
Yeah, and on top of all of that, his snap count's kind of fluctuated throughout the year, but at least the last couple of weeks, he's really seen 40 plus snaps. So he's getting in there, getting the snaps. He's getting back to the quarterback. It's just a good matchup that you just hope maybe he can finish one of those plays or a couple of them and get that big play, get a sack, tackle for a loss, force fumble, and anything like that. He's getting back there, so I'd be
Yeah.
good matchup for him to take advantage of.
Yeah, and he's averaging almost a pressure a game, so he is getting right in the face right there. He's just not quite finishing the play sometimes. And he's not missing many tackles as well. He's only missing 6.5% of his tackles, which, it's not that's what I would hope for from a edge rushing player, but it's also nice to see that being confirmed. So those are our defensive lineman pickups for this week. Again, that would be Azeez Ojulari of the Giants, Chandler Jones of the Las Vegas, Raiders, and DJ Wonnum of the Minnesota Vikings. And another name I want to throw out there, you could count as a linebacker or defensive end. Hopefully, you count it as a defensive end in your scoring and league formats. Joey Bosa, I think, will be nearing a return relatively soon. Chargers trying to make that playoff push and are making that playoff push. Big win over Miami this past week. I have a lot of interest in Joey Bosa. Definitely more so where I can play him as defensive lineman. So I would want to be picking him up, looking out for him, because once he gets going, he is not going to be available for you. And he could be a league winner in the last few weeks of the season. So just a name to keep in mind, especially if he starts getting back to practice.